Emotions. We're chatting about emotions, and maybe even before I dive into this, to take a bit of a pause and just check in with yourself and just even ask the question how am I feeling right now? Really nice practice that I love to do is just hand on heart, hand on belly, and just even just simply close your eyes and just ask the question how am I feeling right now? What type of emotion is kind of running through me right now? And just take a minute, just take a pause to check in with self. And it's how am I really feeling? You ask the question of hey, how are you today? And you get the quick response of yeah, I'm good, how are you? It's how are you really? How are you really feeling? And even how often do we ask people that question of no, how are you really? And I mean, anyone that works with me, you can probably kind of laugh at this, because often that's how we start off a call of how are you today? And that automatic response that we get into, and I'm no, how are you really? And go into your body and just scan around and just see what emotion is present. And so to even just give you a bit of an idea of what emotions are, I love to explain it as emotions are energy in motion. They want to move, whether it be sadness, fear, joy, bliss, anger. It's energy that's looking to move. And so what I'm going to speak on today is the Abraham Hicks Emotional Guidance Scale. There's also one by David Hawkins, which is really great. I just tend to resonate more with the Abraham Hicks scale, just because it's a nice simple scale that's rating. And again, you can pull this up online of just seeing what the emotional scale is. But if you just kind of envision at the bottom of the scale, we have lower vibrational emotions such as anger, revenge, hatred, jealousy, insecurity, and fear, grief, depression, and despair, and powerlessness is at the very bottom. And even just take a pause and just check in how often in my life am I operating in the emotional state of fear, grief, depression, despair, and powerlessness. And powerlessness is actually one of the major states that a lot of humans are operating in our world, which is the lowest vibrational frequency. And so when we can kind of connect into understanding that this is an emotion, they're all okay, it's just be able to know when this is activated in you at any time during the day, and know that it's energy that needs to move. So I'm gonna unpack this a little bit more as we keep going. The middle of the chart are emotions such as boredom, frustration, overwhelm, doubt, worry, blame, being discouraged. And then at the top of the chart, which is identified more as high vibrational type of emotions, are satisfaction, optimism, positive expectations and beliefs. We have passion, and then at the very top is joy, appreciation, empowerment, freedom, love. And even again, take another minute to just reflect on how often during my day do I feel like I'm in the emotional state of joy, appreciation, empowerment, love, as this is our higher vibrational state. And as I've mentioned in a couple of the videos of our downward causation model, because it's everything that we teach on and speak to, is our thoughts create our emotions, and our emotions get stored within our body. And so if we're operating more in a lower vibrational energy or emotional state, oftentimes it's because our thought systems are on this negative loop, heavier kind of pattern. So to know that the higher vibration emotions will stem from our thought systems, which is why this is all interconnected in a beautiful web. So to kind of go back to some of the teachings on this, is that the emotional scale is really a list of commonly felt emotions. And there was a time in my journey where I was doing a lot of talk therapy, moving through a lot of my own shit. And there was a time where when one of my therapists I was working with would ask me, how am I feeling? And I couldn't even identify an emotion. And if this sounds like you, or you resonate with this, I would print off, or recommend that you print off, the Abraham Hicks scale and or the David Hawkins scale, and post it to your wall, or take a screenshot of it, or just something so you have easy access to it to be able to identify, like, how am I feeling? And I would literally have to have it like held up to me and be like point to like how you're feeling today, or how you're feeling when you're overwhelmed, or how are you feeling when you feel X, Y, and Z in your body. And it wasn't until over time I was able to like constantly repeat this like practice of being able to identify what's going on in my body with a feeling and an emotion, that I started to make a connection, a coherence, because I was so dissociated, I was so disconnected that I, was unable to do this. So that's a suggestion if that is you, or sounds like you, or know of someone that, is in this kind of like state, that can be really helpful. To know that the closer we are to joy, the more easily we can attract what we want. And this follows the teachings of our internal environment starts to reflect our external environment, meaning if we're able to access this state of joy and peace and freedom more often throughout our day, oftentimes we start to attract more of that. And on the inverse of that, when we're in more of a lower vibrational state, we start to become what we emit. We start to become, what we feel, and then what we emit. And if anyone's ever had, like a really bad day, and then one bad thing leads to another bad thing, leads to another bad thing. It's like, it's the momentum that carries. And it's like a bad day that went worse, that went even worse. And it's like when we start to carry that kind of lower vibrational energy, then we start to attract just that. And this is, the way the quantum field works. And so, in order, I get asked then, okay, this sounds great on emotions. It's energy and motion, amazing. How do I access these, higher vibrational states? Because we don't just want to fake it till we make it. We want to actually believe it until we become it. And I remember thinking this thought when I used to be a gymnast when I was younger, and one of my coaches would say to me, like, Erin, just fake it till you make it. And it never felt resonant to me, even as like probably like 9 or 10, and it just didn't work for me. I was like, I don't want to fake something. I'm not fake. But when I started to realize that I could believe something till I become it, then it starts to shift the like frequency in your body. So to believe something until you become it, is step one. And then to know that oftentimes what's keeping us stuck, a lot of the times we focus on the emotion of anger. And this may or may not be you, but it's a lot of people that we tend to have never been taught how to express our anger. And oftentimes when we're stuck in this emotion of anger, it blocks us from these higher vibrational states. It blocks us from feeling this love, peace, joy, and these higher frequency of emotions, because this anger carries this lower, denser, heavier type of frequency, and we don't know what to do with it. It's like oftentimes, both genders, both men and women, are like, anger, perhaps is bad, or is hurtful, or is destructive, or is many different things. And it carries this certain, belief, I guess, of what it actually means. We're never taught how to express this. And so I'm going to just teach on this because this is very, impactful, again, if this is you. And I want you to just get out a pen and paper or a notepad on your phone. And I want you to, actually, before I get there, I just want to speak to the emotion of anger is connected to our liver. So if you've had testing done and or know that anything in your liver has shown up, that's the emotion that's connected to our organ system is anger. And oftentimes this is when we're constantly feeling powerless. So maybe we're not doing, maybe we're not living into our full potential with our career, or not on the relationship that we want, or we still have, combative interactions with our parents or our partners or our friends. And so when you can start to identify your relationship with anger, this can be really helpful. So to first of all, just ask and journal down, what is my relationship like with anger? Do I, have a comfortable relationship with anger? Do I never express it? I tend to suppress it. Am I scared of my anger? Like, am I fearful of how big it is or how much it is? Am I scared I'm going to lose control if I really tap into my anger? So just reflect on that for a minute. Also, what were my mom and dad's relationship like with anger? Did, dad express anger all the time and mom always shut down and was quiet? Did your both parents express anger all the time and is very chaotic and very, maybe unsafe at home because the anger got so big? Did both mom and dad never express anger? They were just kind of like everything was good and happy and da-da-da all the time. They weren't fully actually like being expressive when things were really like frustrating and annoying and made them feel angry and never like express that. And then I want you to be able to identify the reason my parents' anger was this way was because. Was this because this is how their parents were? Like my dad was really angry because his father was angry, because his father was always angry. He had a temper. Did my mom always shut down because her mom always shut down because she was in an abusive relationship and so was her mother? You see where I'm going with that? So just be able to identify like what was the reason why my parents' anger, is the way that it is. Once you've kind of done all of that, really powerful practice to be getting into releasing the emotion of anger is a couple ways. To scream into a pillow may sound funny, but it's actually very effective. To scream in your car, I would highly recommend you parking somewhere that's like not a public place, going somewhere, whether it be parking, at a park somewhere, on a trail somewhere, that's like not in like the middle of a parking lot. And or get a punching bag or go to a boxing class, something of that nature, to actually be practicing expressing your anger. So if we're doing the pillow practice is by, first of all, getting a pillow, closing your eyes. And it's important to be able to tap into something or someone or an event that has made you feel really angry, and be able to, ask yourself, like, why am I angry right now? What is, what am I angry about? And or, what like really pisses me off? And when you can close your eyes and just kind of tap back into that, place, and be able to like identify where that emotion is coming from, and like let it kind of bubble up and let it carry some momentum. Once you can tap into that, grab your pillow, take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, just scream as loud as you can into the pillow and repeat it up to 3 times, 3 times minimum, up to, 5, 6, 7 times if that feels good. Oftentimes, you know that you've gotten to the emotion of anger and you've been able to clear it when you start crying. And when you just start getting to that place of sadness is always underneath anger. So that's a practice. If you choose to do it, screaming in your car, just put it in park, hold the steering wheel, close your eyes, and just again tap into that place of something that makes you feel really angry or frustrated or pissed off or upset. And again, scream minimum 3 times, up to a few different times, to just like get the energy moving, because essentially it's stuck energy when we just like suppress it and bury it, which is why our organ systems, also, the liver, which is what's connected to this organ system or this emotion, is it's repressed, it's suppressed. So we want to be able to like emote it and get it out and move it. I think that's all that's coming through on the emotion of anger. So try that out, see how it goes. And it's really helpful to be talking out loud, as you're kind of tapping into these forms of emotional states. Again, looping back to emotions are energy in motion, and we want to be able to express, to move, to release, to move on. And we keep on going. Hope that helps.